Have you ever experienced a truly pivotal moment in your life? I mean, not like a big lightning bolt revelation, but something um, subtler, like a shift in how you connected with someone, maybe, or just how you felt when you were with them. That quiet but really profound transformation that feels like it rewrites how you relate to people. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into exactly that kind of change. We're looking at this really groundbreaking paper called Non-Interpretive Mechanisms in Psychoanalytic Therapy. It's by a brilliant group, Daniel Stern, Edward Tronick, folks like that. And this whole deep dive, it's about getting into what happens beyond just the words in therapy. You know, the unspoken stuff, the powerful forces in human connection. For, gosh, decades, psychoanalytic therapy has focused a lot on interpretation, right? Making the unconscious conscious. But this paper we're looking at today, it suggests there's, well, something more, something deeper, often unseen, that leads to real, lasting change. It really challenges some of the standard ideas.
It absolutely does. It invites us to rethink fundamentally how people change, not just in therapy, but in these really profound ways. It shifts our focus to processes that are operating, mostly outside our conscious radar.
Yeah.
It really broadens how we think about connection itself.
So our mission today is to unpack this something more. Where does it come from? How does it actually reshape our basic ways of being with others? Okay, let's dive in.
Yep.
So the paper starts off by saying there's actually a pretty broad agreement in the field that something more than just interpretation is needed for a therapeutic change to really, stick. And this something more, it's been debated endlessly. Is it actions versus words? Changing deep patterns versus just undoing repression? Is it the relationship itself or the information you get? Lots of angles.
Exactly. And what's so brilliant here is their proposal, this something more, is rooted in what they call interactional intersubjective processes. These processes give rise to implicit relational knowing. Think of it like a kind of social muscle memory. And it's fascinating because this domain, this relational procedural stuff, it's seen as intrapsychically distinct from the symbolic verbal world that interpretation usually works on. It's like two separate systems operating at the same time.
Okay, that distinction feels really important. So let me see if I've got this straight. The paper sees two parallel tracks for change. First, there's the declarative domain, the conscious verbal stuff. That's where interpretations work. They change how you consciously understand yourself, your inner world. It's knowing about something. You can talk about it.
Right, you can articulate it.
But then there's this other track, maybe even more critical, the implicit procedural domain. The relational one. This operates totally outside conscious verbal experience. It's about how to be with someone.
I like their bicycle analogy. You know how to ride, you feel it, but you can't really explain every tiny movement in words.
Exactly.
That's this implicit relational knowing.
Precisely. And the paper really emphasizes that interpretations, while absolutely crucial, they mainly work on that declarative level, the knowing about. But a huge chunk of the really powerful therapeutic action and the stuff that seems to last, it comes from changes in this implicit relational knowledge. It's a deeper, more embodied kind of knowing. It reshapes your instincts in relationships.
So for you listening, this means thinking about change beyond just those aha moments of intellectual insight. Those are great, don't get me wrong. But this is suggesting something more fundamental, a subtle, deeply embedded shift in how you connect, how you navigate the world. It's like changing your default settings for relating. And what makes this so compelling is that the authors don't just, theorize in a vacuum. Right.
They ground these ideas in actual observations, especially these incredibly detailed studies of mother-infant interactions.
Yeah, the developmental research is key.
And they also bring in nonlinear dynamic systems theory, which makes these abstract ideas feel surprisingly solid.
It's really fascinating how they trace implicit relational knowing right back to infancy. Observations show babies, from the first year, they're interacting based on a huge amount of this relational knowledge. They have clear expectations, anticipations about how the caregiver will respond. They get surprised or upset if things go differently. And this knowing is totally non-symbolic. It's pre-verbal. It's a felt sense of how this relationship works.
That makes so much sense. And you see echoes of this everywhere in psychology, right? Bowlby's internal working model.
Those templates.
Or Stern's schemas of being with, which are like our little internal scripts for interaction.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're all describing how we develop these implicit, often unconscious strategies for how to be with other people. And it's not just for babies. The paper gives this wonderful, very human example from adult therapy. The analyst Guntrip talking about his first session with Winnicott, the famous analyst. At the end, Winnicott apparently said, "I don't have anything to say, but I'm afraid if I don't say something, you will think I am not here."
Wow.
which just perfectly shows how even seasoned experts are tuned into these implicit dynamics, this basic human need for acknowledged presence beyond just insight.
That Winnicott line is just brilliant, isn't it? It captures that perfectly. That unspoken need to feel seen, even when there's nothing specific to say, makes you think. So this implicit relational knowing, it's not just an infant thing. It continues throughout life. It forms this vast backdrop of how we relate, including in therapy. It's related to what we often call transference, replaying old patterns.
But maybe broader.
Yeah, broader and seen here as this non-conscious, mutually shaped relational field. Okay, so the paper then lays out this really interesting sequence for how these implicit changes actually happen in therapy. And it draws heavily on those developmental processes we were just talking about.
Right, the core activity they point to is mutual regulation of state. In babies and parents, and just the same in therapy, there's this constant active mutual regulation going on. And it's not just basic needs like hunger or sleep. It's regulating emotions, joy, excitement levels of activation, even how meaning is made together. It happens through these tiny micro-exchanges, back and forth, appreciated, responded to. Regulation involves amplifying good feelings, repairing misunderstandings, scaffolding new ways of being. And crucially, the infant or the patient internalizes the process itself, how to regulate together.
This constant dance of regulation, this back and forth, that's what they call moving along.
Exactly. Moving along is that continuous, often kind of messy, goal-directed process of mutual regulation in the relationship. It's definitely not neat or linear. It involves struggling, negotiating, missing each other, repairing the connection, constant adjustments.
Okay.
In therapy, this covers everything: interpretations, clarifications, the usual stuff. But also this continuous mutual defining of the intersubjective environment, that shared sense of what's happening between us right now.
And within that flow, that moving along, they talk about present moments, like little snapshots.
Precisely. These are the subjective units of experience during moving along. They can last microseconds or many seconds. They capture what is happening now, here between us, a coherent chunk of feeling and content. They give a really clear example in the paper. Let's see. The therapist says, "Do you realize you've been late to the last 3 sessions? That's unusual for you, patient?" "Yes, I do." Analyst, what are your thoughts about that? That whole bit, that's one present moment.
Okay, got it.
Then the patient might say, "I think I've been angry at you." Then there's a silence. Patient adds, "Yes, I have been." Another silence. That's a second present moment. Distinct feeling, different content starting to emerge.
Right.
And then maybe, "Last week you said something that really got me ticked off." That's the third one. These are the sort of building blocks, the steps, sometimes forward, sometimes sideways, of moving along.
So these present moments are like the basic units of interaction. But are some more important than others? Do any of them really stand out as potential turning points?
Absolutely. That leads us to a really special kind of present moment they call now moment. This is when a present moment gets sort of lit up, subjectively, effectively, pulls you right into the here and now, intensely.
Lit up? How?
It takes on this intensity because the usual familiar way of being in a relationship is suddenly disrupted, or it feels like it might be disrupted. Something feels unfamiliar, unexpected in a specific form or timing. It can be unsettling, maybe even a bit weird. It feels like a moment of truth.
A moment of truth. And they connect this to the old Greek idea of kairos, right? Not just clock time, but that opportune moment.
Exactly.
Okay.
Kairos, the critical, unique window of opportunity that demands to be seized. It forces a choice, a response that feels too personal to just be a standard technique from the therapy playbook.
It demands something authentic.
Yes, something authentic from you as a person in that moment.
Okay, so give me some examples. When might these now moments pop up in therapy?
Well, the paper suggests things like, maybe a patient suddenly asks a very direct personal question like, "Do you love me?"
Whoa, yeah.
Or maybe the patient and therapist just crack up together in a sustained belly laugh, completely breaking the usual frame.
Okay.
Or an unexpected encounter outside the therapy room. Or when a really major life event happens to the patient, something so big that simple professional distance feels wrong. Common decency requires acknowledgement. In these now moments, they're seen as the threshold, the doorway to what they call an emergent property of the interaction.
Yeah.
The moment of meeting. This is where the real potential for that deep, implicit change lies.
A moment of meeting. Okay, so how's that defined? It's not just any now moment.
No. It's a now moment that is specifically seized therapeutically and mutually realized by both people. It's highly specific. Both the therapist and the patient contribute something unique and authentic, as people, not just hiding behind their roles.
So less role-playing, more real relating.
Exactly. And the actions involved feel novel, spontaneous. They aren't just routine techniques. It's a genuine human encounter that steps outside the usual script. The Molly vignette in the paper illustrates this so well. Molly's in her mid-30s, analysis for low self-esteem, especially about her body. She's talking about her parents admiring her dancing as a child, and she wonders aloud if they felt sexually excited. Then after a silence, Molly says, "Now I wonder if you're looking at me." That's the now moment. Big shift.
Right, very direct, potentially awkward.
Yeah. The analyst reports feeling taken aback. She thinks about a standard technical response, like interpreting the transference. But then she notices her own personal discomfort, something about dominance, and she feels able to just be spontaneous. So instead of interpreting, she says, authentically, it kind of feels as if you're trying to pull my eyes to you.
Oh, interesting response. Less analytical, more experiential.
Right. And Molly replies, yes, with what the analyst describes as avidity.
Right.
Like, yes, you get it. Those two sentences, the analyst's authentic comment and Molly's yes, that's the moment of meeting.
Wow.
They then process it, and it leads Molly to feel real compassion for herself for the first time.
Okay, the Molly example really brings it home. What's revolutionary here, and what this paper highlights, is that the deep change for Molly didn't just come from understanding something intellectually. It came from that raw, unplanned moment of authentic connection.
Exactly.
When the analyst stepped out of just being the analyst and responded personally, genuinely, in that unexpected way, it wasn't just an insight. It was a shared experience.
A relational experience.
Yeah, one that actually seemed to rewrite Molly's internal blueprint for relating. That's something more they're talking about. Which brings us neatly to this idea of the shared implicit relationship. This is the arena where these moments of meeting happen.
That's the idea. It's the core domain where this implicit relational knowing gets experienced and altered. And it's really important to distinguish it from just transfer and countertransference. The shared implicit relationship exists alongside, in parallel with, those dynamics.
Okay.
It's about the mutual, often non-conscious, knowing of what's going on in the other person's mind about this specific relationship right now, based on all their shared implicit history together. It's the unspoken, felt reality of their connection.
And it involves a personal engagement, right?
Yeah.
Between the two actual people involved.
Yeah. Built up over time. And they suggest it's more enduring, less volatile than the projections and distortions of transference and countertransference.
Because it's based on more accurate sensing of each other.
That seems to be the implication. Sensing each other as real people, beyond just the roles. And then after a moment of meeting happens, they say an open space is created. That process of mutual regulation pauses for a second. Things feel different. This allows for individual creativity. It frees up the patient's implicit relational knowing from its usual automatic patterns.
Little breathing room.
Kind of. And then the moving along the interaction, it restarts, but from this new place, this newly established intersubjective environment that's been changed by that authentic moment.
Okay, but what if these now moments, these opportunities aren't seized? What if that Kairos moment just passes?
Yeah, the paper covers that too.
Yeah.
There are other outcomes. One is the missed now moment, just a lost opportunity. It happens. It's not acknowledged or explored, and they never really go back to it.
Like that Gill example they mentioned, the patient says something provocative, like, I bet I'll contribute more to analysis than you have.
Right, and the analyst just gives this flat reply, I wouldn't be a bit surprised. And that's it.
Oof. Yeah, feels like a missed chance for connection. Definitely.
Then there's a failed now moment. That sounds worse.
It can be. It's potentially damaging to the therapy if it's not repaired somehow. It can shut down areas for exploration, leave this sort of residue of disconnection or hurt. They give that really striking example of David.
Oh yeah, the burn scar?
Right. David tries to show his burn scar to the analyst, wanting him to understand better. He says, here, let me show you. And the analyst just abruptly cuts him off. No, stop. You needn't do that.
Yikes.
Yeah. That was the failed moment. And it was made worse because the analyst's later attempt at repair was apparently quite impersonal. He focused on his own performance standards rather than David's vulnerability.
So the rupture wasn't really healed. Okay, so missed, failed.
Yeah.
Any others?
Yeah, they mentioned a few more possibilities. Repaired now moments, where a rupture happens, but it's effectively worked through, and that repair itself can actually lead to new now moments. So that can be positive.
Flagged now moments, where maybe it's too hot to handle right then, so they sort of acknowledge it, put a pin in it, label it for later, buy some time.
Okay.
And enduring now moments, these kind of hang in the air, unresolved, maybe for many sessions. Not necessarily destructive, but waiting. Also buying time until maybe another now moment or a new understanding can encompass it.
Right, so let's try and pull this all together.
Yeah.
This deep dive into these non-interpretive mechanisms. It really reveals this powerful, often hidden dimension of change, doesn't it? Interpretation works on the conscious level, making the unconscious conscious, changing what you know about yourself, your internal map.
Right, the declarative level.
But these moments of meeting, they act on this shared implicit relationship. They change your deepest non-conscious ways of being with others, your relational habits.
Yeah. Your procedural knowing, yes.
Yes.
And the core difference to really grasp is that the shared implicit relationship is this ongoing process. Its roots are way back in our earliest nonverbal communication. Changes here, through these moments of meeting, seem to lead to really deep, long-lasting therapeutic effects. Interpretation is vital, no question, but it's often more like a specific event, a punctate insight.
Like a point in time versus a continuous flow.
Sort of. And this whole model, drawing from infant research, dynamic systems, it suggests change isn't just about fixing old problems or filling gaps. It's about creating something genuinely new in the relationship itself, something emergent.
That alters the whole environment.
Exactly. And that recontextualizes everything that came before.
And you know, this knowledge isn't just for therapists. That's what strikes me. Think about your own important relationships, friends, family, partners, colleagues. How many of those really profound shifts, those moments where things just changed between you, came not from some logical talk-it-out session, but from a shared moment of real, authentic connection? Maybe even an awkward or unexpected one. A moment of meeting that just went beyond words or roles.
That really leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It raises this question. How might understanding this implicit relational knowing and the real power of these authentic moments of meeting, how might that shift how you approach your own meaningful interactions, or even just how you reflect on your own journey of growth and those moments of deep, sometimes surprising connection?